Here's your wrestling news for September 16th, 2021. And your headlines for today include Kenny Omega vs. Bryan Danielson and more booked for AEW Grand Slam, CM Punk's first televised match in 7 years booked for AEW Rampage next week, Chris Jericho references Brock Lesnar and Goldberg on AEW Dynamite. The men behind this promo are revealed. Big E confirms when he found out about his WWE title win, opens up about Bobby Lashley. Newly crowned WWE Champion Big E recalls Brody Lee in heartwarming conversation. Adam Cole on keeping his AEW debut a secret when he decided to sign with AEW over WWE. Released WWE wrestler is unable to wrestle in the United States. LA Knight suffered bloody injury during NXT 2.0 main event match. Renee Paquette reveals her WWE non-compete is up, gives away hint about joining AEW. They bounced a big check to me and to this day have not paid me. Released WWE superstar calls out WWE, and more. We are kicking off today with AEW as the Grand Slam Dynamite will take place in Flushing, New York next week, and the promotion has announced a stacked card for the show. On last night's show, Kenny Omega accepted the challenge of Bryan Danielson, and the two will face off at the Grand Slam show next week. That event will also see Ruby Soho get her title shot at AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker, which she earned by winning All Out's Women's Casino Battle Royal. Cody Rhodes returned on last night's show, and it was confirmed that he'll get another shot at Malachi Black. Sting will also be in action as he'll team with Darby Allin to face FTR, and with more matches and a CM Punk interview also confirmed, the Grand Slam Dynamite will be another huge night for AEW. CM Punk will have an interview segment on next week's Dynamite, but the former world champion will do a lot more than that on next week's Rampage. On last night's show, Punk took a beating at the hands of Team Taz, which ended with Punk being sent through a table. Next week, Punk will be in action when he faces Powerhouse Hobbs on Rampage in his first match on TV since the January 20th, 2014 Raw, where he beat Billy Gunn. Next week's Rampage will be taped alongside the Grand Slam Dynamite, as fans in New York will be in store for one huge night of All Elite Wrestling. The September 24th Rampage will mark Punk's second match for AEW, but it's one of many that'll happen, according to Jim Ross. Punk has made it clear that he wants to compete against the younger talent of AEW in order to elevate them to the next level. And on his Grilling JR podcast, the AEW commentator said that on a recent airplane ride, he determined that there's at least a year's worth of Punk matches, and that's not including matches against new or returning talent. Punk has already beaten Darby Allin and will face Powerhouse Hobbs next week, and that's just the start of what's expected to be a long and illustrious career in the company. As for this week's Dynamite, Chris Jericho appeared on last night's show and had some choice words when confronting American Top Team's Dan Lambert and the Men of the Year. After cracking a few jokes about the meatheads in American Top Team, Jericho explained how the real fighting prowess of the group doesn't scare him, saying, "You rely on intimidation and scare tactics, but you can't intimidate us," Jericho said. "Big Jake here is undefeated in MMA fights, and I've been getting into skirmishes backstage with MMA guys my whole career. I got into it with a UFC champion Beast a few years ago. A few years before that, I had a shoot fight with an MMA-trained Raging Bill backstage. They didn't kill me. I don't think you can either." Fans were quick to notice that this was a reference to Jericho's infamous backstage altercation with Brock Lesnar, which came at SummerSlam 2016 after Lesnar's match with Randy Orton was stopped because of blood loss. The Raging Bill line is seemingly a reference to Bill Goldberg, who Jericho feuded with in both WCW and WWE, and it's reported that Jericho worked with Tony Khan to put this promo together. Jericho has never shied away from referencing WWE since leaving, and this week was no different, and it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say next week when he and Hager face the Men of the Year at the Grand Slam Dynamite. Jericho wasn't the only one who had things to say about WWE this week, as Impact World Champion Christian Cage also had some digs at his former employer. Speaking about Adam Cole, Cage said how the Elite dragged Cole out of developmental, despite NXT being established as its own unique brand during Cole's tenure. Cage didn't stop there, saying that Cole is used to losing the Wednesday Night Wars, referring to the fact that AEW Dynamite usually won the battle for ratings, and said that he can add Fridays as a day he'll lose as well. After defeating Frankie Kazarian this week, Cole laid out the challenge for Rampage, and we'll have to see what Cage says next as he becomes yet another ex-WWE superstar taking shots at the company. Back to WWE, as this week's Raw saw Big E capture the WWE Championship in an emotional moment for him, the fans, and the New Day. The plan was always for Big E to cash in on Lashley, but that match was meant to happen in October, and it was during the Madison Square Garden SmackDown that WWE decided to have this huge title change this week. Speaking to The Bump, the new WWE Champion explained how quickly things came together, saying, "When I started this loop, my intention was that I was supposed to be home Monday morning after the live event Sunday, and I realized I was going to Raw last minute. That was a bit of a last-minute decision. There was also the option of maybe I go out there and do some teasing and come back later when it's time to actually cash in, or go back to SmackDown and cash in there. I wasn't really sure. It was an afternoon, that day decision, and it all happened very, very quickly. For me, it was definitely not something that was set in stone days and days ahead." A world title win for Big E is something that fans have been waiting for a very long time, even back when he was part of the New Day, and despite fans literally waiting years, the new champ didn't have long to process his huge title win before it actually happened. As the new WWE Champion, Big E has been kept increasingly busy with media appearances and recently sat down with Complex to discuss this week's match. Appearing out of character, Big E praised Bobby Lashley, saying that the Almighty had an incredible championship reign, and that when he gets signed in 2009, he wanted to be like Lashley. Lashley's reign lasted 196 days and saw the Almighty retain at WrestleMania, inside Hell in a Cell, and defeat Goldberg at SummerSlam, and we're sure that Big E will be looking to replicate that level of success now that he holds the richest prize on Raw. Big E's title win meant a lot to a lot of people, but sadly, Brody Lee wasn't there to see it happen. Passing away last December, Lee and Big E were close friends, and on Twitter, the Dark Order's Stu Grayson said he could imagine how happy Brody Lee, aka John Huber, would have been to see his friend win the big one. Responding, Big E said how he couldn't stop thinking about seeing him and hugging him after his match this week, calling their friend a tremendous man. Sadly, Brody Lee is no longer with us, and he'll never get the chance to see Big E's WWE Championship victory, but this heartwarming conversation shows just how much he meant to a lot of people. At All Out, Adam Cole made his AEW debut mere days after his short-term deal with WWE expired. Speaking to Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, Cole described the lengths he went to keep his AEW debut a secret, saying he flew into a different city and didn't stay at the same hotel as Bryan Danielson, who also debuted at All Out. Cole noted that he was thrilled that his face mask helped keep his identity a secret, and that he only showed up to the building when the show was going on, and waited outside in a trailer, keeping his debut a surprise even from the locker room. He added, "It was the most secretive debut I've ever been involved in, and Tony Khan took every measure to make this as big of a surprise as possible." Cole also confirmed that he had talks with WWE and AEW after becoming a free agent, but signed with AEW not long before All Out. "My actual decision to join AEW was literally only a couple of days before the pay-per-view. I was awake in bed and it was close to 1 in the morning and I was imagining being involved in AEW. That thought gave me such an excited feeling. I was so giddy I couldn't even sleep. I loved the idea of coming to All Elite Wrestling, and that's when I knew what I needed to do." Cole made his in-ring debut last night, defeating Frankie Kazarian on Dynamite, and fans can expect plenty more from the former NXT champion after his incredible debut earlier this month. Back to WWE, and Killian Dane was released from his NXT contract a few months back, but he's yet to wrestle for another company. That's because Dane, now going by his old wrestling name Big Damo, isn't a US citizen, and like the Iconics, can't earn money in the US while he sorts out his visa. Speaking to WrestleZone, Big Damo revealed that he hopes to sort his visa issues out soon, but it's hard to say when. "My main issue is that I'm a foreigner living in the USA, so there's still legal hurdles I have to make before I can get anywhere. That could be sorted within a week, it could be sorted within a couple of months, and sadly, that's the reality of the situation. I'm here legally, but I won't be able to work legally just for a little time yet, and that's something we're hoping to get sorted ASAP. I'm really excited for what's next." Damo's wife, Nikki ASH, can be seen appearing on Raw each week, and has even had a Raw Women's title reign since his release. And once he's able to wrestle again, odds are fans will see a lot more of the former Killian Dain. One person fans can see is LA Knight, who competed for the vacant NXT Championship on NXT 2.0. Facing Pete Dunne, Von Wagner, and eventual winner Tommaso Ciampa, the night didn't go as Knight had planned, as he lost more than just the chance to be an NXT champion. Fightful Select notes that Knight was busted open badly during the match and had to be tended to by medics, as they needed to stop the bleeding on live television. Knight's injury was not meant to happen, as WWE doesn't like to feature blood on their programming because of their PG rating. LA Knight also lost NXT 2.0's opening match, falling to Braun Breaker, the son of Rick Steiner, as the relaunch of the multicolored brand was not a night Knight wants to remember. In the summer of 2020, Renee Paquette left WWE, and she's been pretty busy since then. Not only has Renee launched her own successful podcast, Oral Sessions, and become a mother, but she's recently started a new series, Throwing Down with Misha Tate, which can be found on SiriusXM. Speaking to Wrestling Inc. about her future plans, Renee announced that her lengthy non-compete clause with WWE is seemingly over, saying, "I think I'm free and clear. I can be at Bloodsport, I'm gonna be at Bloodsport, everyone better buckle up and hold on to their asses. I'll fight anyone, except for Misha. I won't fight Misha." Upon leaving WWE, fans speculated on whether Paquette would join the many ex-WWE names, including her husband, in AEW, and that's definitely something the former Raw commentator is considering. "I'm definitely open to the idea. I miss pro wrestling. I miss being involved in the pro wrestling world in that capacity, but I don't know what that job would be or what my role could be within AEW. We could probably rattle off a couple of different ideas of things to do, and as AEW is growing, as their broadcasts are growing, as they're adding on new shows, I think there's definitely a role. I don't know that I'd necessarily want to jump back into commentary by any means, but I think doing some interviews, doing some features, I love doing features. I just love pro wrestling. I love all the athletes behind it, so getting to pick their brains in sort of an Oral Sessions way and Throwing Down way to have them be part of a broadcast with AEW or something like that could be really cool. Or maybe I just valet Misha." Renee Paquette still has the wrestling bug and has remained active in the wrestling community thanks to her podcast, and with her non-compete clause over, it may just be a matter of time before she joins her husband in AEW. And we're ending with Jonathan Coachman, who worked with WWE from 1999 to 2008 and later returned for a stint in 2016. This second stint, which saw Coach as a commentator and pre-show panelist, led to some bitterness with WWE, and during an appearance on ad-free shows, the former WWE personality spoke about his future goals with CBS, calling out Vince McMahon in the process. He said, "I have a very bad taste in my mouth from the sport of wrestling right now. Ultimately, a year ago when they asked me specifically to come back and do the XFL, from January to March, I flew coast to coast. They didn't have the expenses set up because it was a different company. I paid my own expenses between $8,000 and $20,000. I was supposed to be reimbursed later. They bounced a big check to me and to this day have not paid me. I reached out, and the week after the XFL bounced that big check, they cut my contract on the WWE side. Sometimes when you're a leader, you are called on to sacrifice, not cash checks and stocks for millions of dollars when you're bouncing checks. I'm not okay with that, and I will never work with somebody like that again. At the same time, they're cashing in millions of dollars of stock and laying people off while they're doing that? It's just bad business." When asked, Coach said he'd decline any potential Hall of Fame induction, adding that he plans to be with CBS for the rest of his career, praising the great people he works with. Coach plans to be an executive for CBS and is doing a lot for the network already, but don't ever expect to find the former commentator / general manager / occasional wrestler back on WWE programming. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.